Hi. So in today's video, I'll be talking to you about symbolism of an elephant, a snake, and a hat, as well as the painting by Judtih depicting Judith. Okay, so stay tuned. So my first encounter with an elephant was when I was a little girl and I read The Little Prince, and I kept on staring on that picture, and it depicted the boa snake digesting an elephant. And for me, there are three things depicted in that picture: a boa snake, an elephant, and a hat. So for me, a snake is a temptation. A snake can be Torah or a Bible, and an elephant for me is a system that is built on abuse. And a hat for me are Jewish people. And here's why: because when working on my book, I started to read Adam and Bartosz's book. And I have learned that before the Second World War, Tarnów was a place where there were a lot of hat factories. And somewhere around that time, I also just accidentally visited the hat shop, which was very impressive because it had shelves piling up to the ceiling, and all those hats and scarf were of a very good design. Okay, so that was my very first encounter with the elephant, the snake, and the hat all put in one. And David Snyder, who deals with hypnosis, says that what was there first has the strongest impact on you. I mean, some hypnotists claim that everything that surrounds you can have a hypnotizing effect on you. It can be an ad, it can be, a song, anything that's around you, an image, right? So if you're exposed to all that very early, that's the strongest and the highest impact of it, right? So when I was already a teenager, I was exposed to a different elephant, the elephant that was depicted as a, helpless, not believer, I would say. So that was the mystery of the elephant described in the book. So there was a curious boy who kept wondering, why did an elephant that is so strong, that could pull a tree with the trees from the earth easily, why did it stand in chains, and why did it stand tied to the tree? And finally, there was a smart man who knew the answer, and that man told the boy that when the elephant was little, he tried and he tried and he tried and he failed. And because of that, when he grew up, he believed that he couldn't and he would never be able to. And what that story does to me is, like, on a logical level, it shows me that, there are a lot of people like this little elephant who didn't believe, and everyone looking from their side can tell that he can easily do it, but he just doesn't believe. But on the other hand, that story leaves you with the image of the elephant that is tied to the tree. And that story uses repetition. He couldn't and he never would be able to. It is repeated 2 or 3 times in the book. So for me, this book is built on duality. And for me, it takes some extra effort and some awareness that you are left with that image of the elephant that is helpless and and tied to the tree. And if you know that you are left with that image, and if you know how hypnosis works, then you are more likely to actually think, oh, I have to now work extra, just when having the book read, I have to work extra on that image and imagine the elephant breaking the chains. Because the story doesn't give me that. So for me, the story is not positive at all. Um, So if we get back to the image from the Little Prince, we have the snake, the elephant, and the hat. So I had various encounters with snakes. Like, the very first one was from my brother, who drew a cobra. And then when being 23 years old, perhaps, I was doing the apprenticeship in Greece, and there in the bar I met a Jewish man, who had a cobra or a snake on his neck, and I kept on staring on him. So yeah, when riding his motorbike, my friend Roxana made me just lose my sunglasses, which, by the way, include the word sun in them, and I really, really liked those sunglasses. And also in Berlin, when walking with my sister to the bar, we saw a man, and I had this thought, oh, he had eyes of the snake. And all my teenage years and all her teenage years, my sister used to wear a ring with a snake. That was very, very interesting one. So that was the meeting with the cobra. And I also had the meeting with the vulture when I was writing an article about Kevin Kartner, who took a photo of a girl and a vulture. He probably have waited a few more minutes for the vulture to approach the child closer. And then he won a prestigious photography award, and the media gossiped about him that he didn't receive the girl help, and the man committed a suicide. So that's definitely is a tragic story of people, depicting one side of the story, and maybe some of them not always verified the facts, and yet they impacted the man's life to a great degree. Because I think just bringing the awareness about what's going on in Africa is also the job somebody should do. But the reason I mentioned cobra and the vulture is because I also came across the information that when the cobra and the vulture in Egypt were together, found in their tombs, that indicated that Upper and Lower Egypt were united together. And the reason, why I mention these things is because one thing is that, is images, they work on your subconscious mind. And the other thing is, if you are a producer, if you draw, if you design, if you write, then your subconscious speaks through you, and you can sit to analyzing those symbols, those words, and those images. Well, and I also had some, unusual personal encounter with yet another story. So, when I was going to London to file my motion about witches to the king, I was going there on the 25th of February 2025. And before going there, I fasted for a very, very long period of time. And before the flight, I actually started to eat to gain some strength. Even my mother would bring me some water with, with lemon, and well, it had some different taste. Yeah. So I went to London, and in front of the palace, I had an apple, which is a symbol of, temptation. And I had a feeling, okay, I was fasting to improve my extrasensory perception, to improve my intuition, to get some good downloads. And then I destroyed it all, with all those 3 days of meals and this one apple. And soon after that, I was approached by two police officers who were, looking at my documents, asking questions, and they weren't polite to me at all. And as I got scared because they asked me if I had a place to stay, if they should pick me up somewhere. I was just being questioned, and I was just visiting, so that wasn't fair according to me. And I just moved away from them, and I didn't ask for my passport back. I didn't, I didn't get the passport back, so they didn't call me, "Hi lady, you left your passport," like they should have asked me to come back. So I was told the Buckingham Palace would be closed for the night. And, when I walked away from them, I had to go back to look for them. I didn't find them. And I saw that, there was still a lot of people over there, and the square wasn't closing. It looked like it wasn't closing. And these people told me to walk away. Also because of my umbrella. So because I had no documents, that was my belief. I had no documents. I felt like I was forced to go back to my country right the next day. So I was buying the ticket and repeatedly writing 26. That's the date I was writing. And I told you that the 26th is also the date of my father's death, and the date of pedophiles that birth in my family. Not even one. So the thing is, I got back to my country. The next day I had my course about mysticism of Kabbalah, and somebody in that group said that some heads went down. And that is a story that I described in my book entitled Mouse. It's a true story, and the reason why I mentioned that that event over here is because of the George Jonah and his painting Judith, which was depicting a woman standing with the sword, keeping her feet on a man, and that man is probably having separated his head from his body. So the general meaning of the painting says that it depicts the fight of the evil with the goodness. And it depicts that the goodness wins with the evil. But what happens is, very often with occultism practices, you'll see that one spectrum of your understanding is taken to the other side, and some totally opposite meaning is assigned to it. And yeah, I believe a similar story happened with the way Jewish people were killed during the Second World War. Like, they were starved because they practiced fasting, and they were suffocated because they practiced meditating. When you think about the dogs, the sniffers who go and search during the Second World War, German shepherds, well, that's another meaning that is assigned to a new meaning that is assigned to dogs, that most of the time, just people like animals, they like dogs. And here the meaning changes in the context of the war. Okay. So, yeah, the painting I mentioned the painting of Giorgione because I sit down when I was a teenager. I was just in the middle school, and I sat down to do the reproduction of the painting, just to sit and practice drawing. So, the woman's dress is pink, and that's the color of my book cover. And it's a book about gypsy magic. It's a book about occultism, symbolism, and, well, it's a book about a lot of things. Yeah. So the painting was, my drawing was taken down, and first it was exhibited in the school, and then it was taken down, and I never got it back. Like most of my drawings or my diaries. So, yeah. I still believe that, I still believe in that positive side of the painting. Yep. So, um, if you want to get a free copy of my book Piglet, if you want to learn more about the way the system is built, if you want to learn more about, various types of control and manipulation, if you want to learn more about gypsy magic, then please drop me a line at lkinga788 at gmail.com.